Hi, welcome back to Millennial Milktoast. I'm Forrest, and I'm going to show you today how you can build a structure out of VHS tapes entirely. This is plastic and magnetic tape construction. So it's been completely locally sourced. And here's the thing about building a structure out of VHS tapes. A lot of people don't even think it's possible. What I think a lot of people don't understand is that it's an extremely affordable way to, build a nest egg for your kiddos and for future generations. And for future generations. And for future generations. And for future generations. So I'm going to show you today how you can turn all of those VHS tapes into a gift for the future. That's what it's all about. The future. For the future. For the future. For the future.
Hello? Hello? Whoa! Past Forest? What are you doing in there?
Oh. Hey. So I'm kind of doing a satire thing. They're gonna love it in the future.
Okay, I'll be the judge of that. How's the video going?
Which one would that be?
The one you were supposed to be done filming by now?
Oh. So the thing is, I started all this in the spring of last year. I went to a few yard sales, then a few more. I hit my local thrift stores, and then the ones that were further and further and further away. I found some tapes online. I found tapes in estate sales. Before I knew it was December 31st, 2024. After a prolific year, I decided to do one last trip to the thrift store. I thought that I would record my last haul of the year, but what happened instead was I didn't buy a single tape. And in fact, after that I decided I wouldn't buy a tape for the entire month of January, just as a detox from the whole pattern of collecting. I talk about the thrill of the hunt, and how it's really fun for me to just discover things on physical media, and it's fun to find things at thrift stores, estate sales, and so on. And I think for me, one of the things I had to start questioning was the hunt and how often I allowed myself to purchase something and to what end my movie collecting would reach. One of the things I fall into all the time is making value judgments about things. And I don't really want to make a value judgment about collecting itself. It can be a lot of fun, it can be very beneficial, and I think it can also not be beneficial to a person at times to be in a collecting mindset. And there's a lot of different ways that can happen, but for me, I think that January was a good time for me to evaluate what my thresholds were for collecting, like how important it was to me, how much was enough, and where was I going to start drawing boundaries as to the extent of my collecting.
Wait a minute. You mean to tell me that you got all of these tapes in the last year? Yeah. So the thing of it is, You've got to stop.
It's a very, believable story.
If you do not stop collecting, you will become something. We will become something that cannot be stopped, something that cannot be understood.
The thing of it is,
this is worse than I thought. I came here to warn you.
whoa, hey, this is the Konami Justifier. I bought this over the summer. I was thinking of making a video about CRT TVs and light gun games and how I want to build my own kind of light gun entertainment center.
But you're never gonna make that video, or the Tarantino video, or the Filthy Animal series if you don't start scripting more parts of your videos and trying new things and just getting videos done. Forrest, you gotta get a video done. Tape dead. He's found us. He's found you. Listen, the only way you can be saved is if you make the video. I gotta go. It is I, Tape Dead. I am the lost tape.
You will be rewound. Rewind this. None of them. Taped it. Oh. Hi. Well, you're hanging out with Millennial Milktoast, and it looks like we better get started with the video. So, this is the second time that I've had a collection of VHS tapes. I abandoned the format in 2009 when I was 19. I actually had more VHS tapes than I had DVDs at the time, but the trend for me was I was buying the cheaper VHS tapes that people were trying to get rid of, and I was mostly buying DVDs. And so it just turned out that when I moved out, I decided to take my DVDs with me, and I left my VHS tapes behind. And so that was just sort of the end. Now, about 10 years later, I'm still an avid thrifter. Even though I'm not looking for VHS tapes, I still go to the thrift store and look for DVDs, books, and other odds and ends that I can find. During the course of looking through movies, I came across this copy of the movie Pulse at the Arc Thrift Store on Broadway in Denver. So what I want to focus on is just the beauty of this tape. I love the RCA Columbia Pictures home video line, the red line border. If you look at the sides, you usually also have this red line. Iconic. And I just remember the design of this tape. Its artwork, the aesthetic or vibe, if you will, it just grabbed me. It kick-started a new era of collecting for me. And after about a year, I had a shelf of maybe 16 tapes. I think that this is a pretty good approximation. So I had this fantasy film Crystalone. We got Total Recall 2070. Replicator with a shiny cover. Black Moon Rising. Tommy Lee Jones and Linda Hamilton. Easy. Tape that you see a lot, honestly. Millennium. Really, really rough looking copy of Repo Man. Toby Hooper's Life Force. Nemesis 2. Never did get Nemesis 1. Watchers 2 and 3. Same deal. Never got Watchers 1. And a HBO Canon version of release of Highlander. One of the things that you might notice is there really aren't a whole lot of AAA tier type films. There is Highlander and there is Life Force, which was given a pretty big budget. However, mostly you see a lot of made-for-TV movies, sequels. Now, in the next year, I collected about the same amount. Initially, I think if I look at what I collected, there was a pretty healthy mix of horror, sci-fi, a little bit of fantasy, but generally speaking, a lot of genre type stuff, horror, sci-fi. They all have a fantastical quality to them. And one of the things I just want to point out is that my initial impulse was to find really dumb, really weird, and really obscure movies, because a lot of those movies are exclusive to VHS. There was definitely a blind spot in pop culture where I could pick up a movie from the thrift store that I had never heard of that was made back in the 90s that just looked ridiculous. So we got Hologram Man. Then we got a couple action type movies and thrillers. So we got Dead Calm with Nicole Kidman, as well as Sam Neill and Billy Zane. And I bought this just on the strength of the leads. It looked cool. It's listed as a horror on that WB imprint on the side. And I also have Snake Eater. Looks more like a action film, very 80s action film with a shirtless man with a gun, both on the back and front of the cover. Then we got George A. Romero's Knight Riders. Pretty cool premise. It's like, what if there was a Renaissance fair combined with a modern day kingdom combined with a motorcycle gang. And it was headed by Ed Harris. It's quite the premise. George A. Romero of zombie saga fame. Here's a couple horrors. So we got Salem's Lot, the movie, and then we got Wes Craven's People Under the Stairs. This was strongly recommended to me, and I still haven't watched it, but it looks really fun. It's got Everett McGill, who is one of the Twin Peaks people, one of the people from David Lynch and Mark Frost's Twin Peaks. Okay, and then in the home stretch of this initial collection, we got Rutger Hauer's Split Second. Now you might notice there's like a banner across this. That's because this movie, I think maybe the first movie that I got that is a screener. This is a tape that would be sent to rental places to kind of pitch like, hey, Split Second, Rutger Hauer. They give you all kinds of reasons why it will rent well and why it will make money. I still haven't seen this either. I'm slacking. Okay, and then I saved these two for last because these are kind of a sign of things to come, and they're also just a couple of the best ones that I found during this period. This is Time Walker and The Manitou. Now, take a moment to look at these, and I just want you to consider, what do you see that they have in common? If you said they have the same pattern up at the top, you would be correct. See, these are both Charter Entertainment releases, and one of the things that you figure out as a physical media collector, whether it's books, whether it's movies, whether it's DVDs, whether it's comic books, anything that you can think of, you are eventually going to run into a desire to have like shelf items that go together. Now, these two movies have nothing in common, but damn it if I cannot resist always putting these two Charter Entertainment films next to each other. One of the things I love, I did watch The Manitou. It's pretty amazing. Well done. It's definitely worth seeing. It is based on a novel, so don't sleep on The Manitou. Evil does not die, it waits to be reborn. But the one that really kills me is this movie, Time Walker, mostly because it has, to me, one of the funniest taglines I may have ever heard in my life. Nothing can stop him, not even time. Time Walker. Terrifying. I stumbled into something during the course of picking up movies like this on VHS for the vibe and because they were cool individual pieces. The thing that I ran into that I really did not anticipate, but I should have. Nostalgia. The focus of my collecting changed when I found a copy of this. Night of the Comet is a special movie to me. It's a movie that I think I only saw fully once on cable one evening, and maybe I saw a few sequences of it elsewhere on cable, but never saw it fully again. One of the really beautiful things about broadcast cable and all that is you could just catch a scene from a movie. You could sample it a little bit. You could jump in and discover that, hey, you know, I never thought that this movie looked good, but actually I'm really interested. It probably seems chaotic, and that's because it is. It's still such a game of chance as to whether a piece of art is going to connect with you. And I do love that. Finding a copy of it was really exciting. It was a movie that I had really, really wanted to see again. When the movie kicked on and the tape player made all the clanky sounds that it makes, and the movie started, and I started to see these visuals from back when I was a kid, it took me back to a different time, not to the time of the movie, but to that time in my life when I watched the movie. It took me back to the past so strongly. It was such a potent hit of nostalgia. It was a really cool moment when I found it, added it to my collection, and suddenly it kind of stood apart from a lot of the other movies because it had this biographical context to it, that it was a part of my past. It wasn't just something I was discovering and getting on VHS for laughs. There were a number of sequences that stuck in my mind, from the radio station sequence to the initial Night of the Comet when the couple is canoodling in a lead-lined film projector box, to the sequence when the two sisters are driving around Los Angeles, and it's like a bright orange. It's like very Steven Soderbergh's Traffic orange. There's also a sequence where the two sisters go shopping in a mall, and they get to kind of go on a shopping spree without worrying about money, which was really fun, and then also without worrying about judgment for what they were choosing to wear. And I think as a young queer person, that scene just really warmed my heart because it showed me how much fun it would be to shop without having people like watching me and without the social pressure of it. And so in a really funny way, the escapism of that sequence in Night of the Comet, a movie that for a few years I could not even remember the name of. I just remembered, oh, it was this movie, like the sun blew up, people turned to dust, and there's a scene where girls go shopping. I wish I could go shopping for a dress. That's how memories sometimes get cooked. It's a great movie. Robert Beltran from Star Trek Voyager co-stars. Of course, it's got Catherine Mary Stewart, who crushes it in The Last Starfighter, which is another movie that kind of warms my heart and is a genre piece, and it comes from my childhood. So you can better bet that right after I watched Night of the Comet, I was already in my head tallying, okay, I need to find a copy of Last Starfighter because now I want that movie from my childhood. And that's kind of how this sort of stuff gets started, is you find something that really scratches an itch you didn't know you had. I started to widen my search for more childhood era media, more stuff that I wanted to rewatch as an adult. The hunt was on. Now, another more practical contributor to my VHS collecting was my declining interest in collecting DVDs. The reason for this was pretty simple. I purchased a PlayStation 4 in about 2016. I ended up starting to purchase Blu-rays. Now, don't get me wrong, I love DVDs, and I have collected them, I think, longer than any media format, and will probably continue to collect them longer than any media format. Now, a DVD is 720 pixels. These were designed with standard definition TVs in mind, whether that's tube televisions or early flat screen and or plasma TVs that also run 720. Now, when Blu-rays came out, Blu-rays upped the ante to 1080, and TVs also went up to 1080. And in 2016, I purchased a PlayStation 4 and a high-def TV, and as a result, I started buying more Blu-rays than DVDs whenever I could. Now, I adore Blu-rays, and I'm sure that as a VHS collector that I come across as probably somebody that, exclusively only likes one format, but I'm extremely fond of the Blu-ray format, and so I started collecting my favorite movies that I could get for reasonable prices on Blu-ray while maintaining my 720 DVD collection. And then I think it's kind of comical that while I had my high def and my standard, I still enjoyed collecting substandard copies of movies. I don't have Children of Men because it wasn't released on VHS, but here's a copy of Dante's Peak sitting at a beautiful 480 pixels pan and scan. As a result of these years of collecting habits, I figured out the kind of movies that I wanted to own on Blu-ray, the kind of movies that I would accept on DVD, and the kind of movies that I would enjoy watching on VHS. The haul that I am going to show you today represents about a year of collecting. I have a lot of tapes, and I need to go through all of the tapes that I bought. The first set of tapes I'm going to go through is a box that I have labeled stock. Now, at a certain point, I started accumulating tapes that I didn't necessarily want as part of my collection, but they were tapes that I wanted for either crafts, to resell, or to maybe give as a gift. Now, looking at the stock from this year, I'm starting with all of my color VHS tapes. Spool swapping is the practice of taking the inside of the tape, putting it in another tape. So if I wanted the Rugrats movie to be in a gold tape, I could take the inside of this tape and pop it into a gold VHS. If you want to see a video about that, you can see my first video. So I got a whole pile of Monsters, Inc. blue tapes here. A few Bob the Builder tapes. I think these are red and white. Let's see, white. I think they're all white. Yeah. Okay. Microsoft Actimate's introductory video. If you want to know how to use your PC, Barney and Friends and Arthur TV shows explain how to use it. Anyway, it's a white tape. Got a bunch of Nickelodeon's Chart House Learnings. Fish, Catch the Energy, Release the Potential. A yellow tape. We got, let's see, a red one. This is Elmo. And we got a rental, Indecent Proposal. This is not the only green Indecent Proposal I have seen. I think I even brought it up. In my first video. For some reason, the Blockbuster copy of Indecent Proposal was green for a lot of people. Got another Nickelodeon, another regular green one, and then we got a blue rental from Blockbuster as well. This one's pretty darn neat. This is Godfather. Got a gold tape. Beautiful. Looking forward to spool swapping this with something cool. And then we got a few of these cases. I brought these up in my first video as well. Some of these are color tapes. Yep, got like a white Barney. Got a few Bob the Builders, probably yellow. Yep. So got a few odds and ends. Got some of these gold ones that I talked about. So this is stock. None of these are movies that I necessarily want to watch. However, if I came across them in the wild and they were cheap, let's say anywhere between a dime and 50 cents, I would purchase them. Particularly the color shells, I try not to spend more than 50 cents on a given shell because generally they're for a project and those projects end up ballooning in their budgets if I spend more than a couple bucks on the tape itself. Looking into my box of stock, though, it's not just these color VHS tapes. A woman sold me this stack of tapes for next to nothing, which I know why. These are feature films for families. These movies are basically like Hallmark family movies that are made specifically for people that are very sensitive to the content of their media. I don't know why I actually bought these. I do know why, but it's a reason that I'll never do. I thought to myself, wouldn't it be cool to watch a few of these and review them? But boy, I don't see myself doing that anytime soon. So that's why they're in the stock. I will be honest, Sunny Ears looks kind of good. I think I got it for $1 for the stack or something. Brother Future. Lost in the Barrens, Pistol, The Birth of a Legend. This was at a thrift store in Rocky Ford. I happened to be in town. I read the back and found out that it's really not my vibe. It's like a late 90s Christian house pop kind of group. I'm sorry, it's not for me. It's just not. Maybe it'll end up being donated or gifted, who knows, but there's some more stock for you. This is a whole mountain of mostly nothing. Overall, you know, the ratio is bad. We don't exactly have a movie collection here. We just have a collection of movies. Here's a quick and easy one. Got some blanks. If I can come across one for a reasonable price, I will pick those up. I love these Polaroids. What else is there to say? It's a beautiful case. Scotch tape. A couple goofy ones. I was at an Arc in Aurora. I spotted this. It's road construction. Awesome. Or, you know, awesome road construction. If you look at it on this side, it says road construction awesome. Don't at me. How long could each of these tapes really be? 26 minutes. Why is it a 2-tape set? Now, I bought this and I felt dumb. And then I went to another thrift store the same day on the other side of town. And what do I find? But awesome trains. How could I not? So, of course, now I got both of them. I'm sure there's another awesome one. Just warning, this is important. Warning, learning can be fun. So, watch out. It sneaks up on you. Okay, we got another orange. Got a couple white tapes. Another white tape. And I think I found this copy of Hercules. And I was really intrigued because I opened it up and it's a Spanish language film. It says Laguna Films, the best of the best. I think it was a dime. Double Toil and Trouble. Halloween stuff is always kind of in season with VHS collectors. Secret of Nim. Now, here's the thing. I love both of these movies. They're fun. But as they are in stock, the nice thing is if somebody wants to order something, I can potentially customize things based on the stock. This was really neat. It is a Spanish language copy of The Lion King. Just cool. I was really excited when I found it, especially because it's on this gorgeous green tape. It's actually pretty difficult to find a uniform green tape outside of the VeggieTales. Almost all the other green tapes have varying shades. Dante's Peak, which I already have. It's a slippery slope. However, nonetheless, I have it. And it's in my stock, and so I can pull from it if I really want to. Picked up a couple Titanics. You know, Titanic was the 2-tape set. This isn't the actual one, but this is the tape that I had when I was growing up. If you know, you know. This movie's awesome. You know, when I was a kid, I would just watch the second tape because it starts about 5 minutes after they hit the iceberg. See, you got the romance, then you got the disaster. Romance, disaster. Okay, here's some more stock. Okay, we got Ghost. You will remember this from my second video. It's the White Ghost. I found another one. Got a pretty cool pair of Lethal Weapon tapes. This is a really great example of the tapes themselves being appealing. I have a DVD set of the Lethal Weapon films. It's widescreen director's cuts. It's everything that I want in my copies. However, when I ran across these, I just think they look so darn cool. Particularly the first one. I love this shot. I love the red text. Even the tagline. 2 cops. Glover carries a weapon. Gibson is one. He's the only LA cop registered as a lethal weapon. Inevitably, they got to say 2 times or something. Let's see. They don't. That's very, it's very restrained. Which is not what I would describe Lethal Weapon 2 at all as. Lethal Weapon 2 is the bomb. If you haven't seen it, you need to see the director's cut of Lethal Weapon 1, but you got to see Lethal Weapon 2. It's a whole thing. Sealed copy of Christmas Vacation. Now, sealed VHS, kind of a dubious thing. However, I will say, this has the ye old watermark on the saran, so that's pretty cool. Saran wrap? Shrink wrap? Shrink wrap. There you go. So, got it for the cheap. It's a really nice copy. Why not? It's new old stock, as they say. This is pretty fun. I do not see UHF a whole hell of a lot. I think the first time I saw it, I bought it. And it's been years since I started collecting VHS. But this is a pretty cool movie starring Weird Al Yankovic back in the day at the beginning of his career. And this one, I just really appreciated the way that this tape looks. Unfortunately, this tape was cut. This is called a cut box. So somebody took their copy of Apocalypse Now. They cut the box up. It was Video Village. That's who did it. I can see it right here. Video Village, Route 101, West Milford, New Hampshire, 673-6003. It's so old they didn't even put an area code on their phone number. But this belonged to Video Village, and they cut the original box. And then, as you can see, it's all... You can't really see it, but I assure you, the box looks sad when you look in here. And that's because the box was cut. Interesting thing that I never noticed, this box had an index in it. So this was like a gatefold style box that held the tape. Like you would open it. Huh. And it has timestamps along with key scenes in the movie. Wow. Now, aside from the fact that I love Apocalypse Now, one of the other reasons I bought this was I just really liked this case. It's got like 2 holes at the top so you can pick it up like easily, but then it's also crystal clear, and it's a very durable plastic, and it's got this nice click opening. And watch the tape, it just slides out. As far as stock goes in horror, I don't have as much because the trend in VHS collecting is almost everybody collects horror. Anybody that gets a horror tape doesn't get rid of it unless they don't need it. I do have a few that I managed to pick up, though, in addition to Double Double Toil and Trouble starring Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. I got Texas Blood Money, Dusk Till Dawn 2 in this really dope crystal clear case, kind of like these ones. I additionally got a copy of Hocus Pocus, always a favorite and great for any type of craft that I could do and sell. This is the first time I found a copy of Edward Scissorhands. Been years, and I finally managed to secure one of the original copies. I don't know if this is the first printing, but it's close. It's got this animation of the neighborhood, this drawing or this painting that shows the neighborhood with all of the snow and the bushes that have been trimmed to look like creatures. It's a really nice tape. If I can not find a reason to, I may end up putting this in my collection. That one's actually a candidate for promotion. I got a copy of Blade, the Rugrats Halloween special. I like to collect genre stuff, so science fiction, adventure, action, and I keep an eye out for it because there's a lot of 80s and 90s genre stuff that is just timeless. People are always going to want it. They're always going to want some variation of it. And so in the course of my crafting, it's good for me to have extra copies of certain movies. So, for example, I have a lot of Indiana Jones. So we got one Temple of Doom, we got one whole trilogy, and then we got a Last Crusade, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and another Last Crusade. My favorite art, easily. Out of the 3 if I had to pick. Okay, let's take a look at the science fiction. We got Star Wars A New Hope. This is before the remasters. We got a sealed copy of Contact, one of my favorite movies of all time. I couldn't resist. See, this is how they get me. A couple of Star Trek and Star Trek adjacent things. We got First Contact, Insurrection, don't sleep on it, great film. And we got, of course, Galaxy Quest, once voted one of the best Star Trek films at a Star Trek convention, despite the fact that it's not a Star Trek film. I forgot to show you this set of Star Trek 1 through 6. It's a pretty sweet little set. It's not really that uncommon. Always wanted to make crafts out of Star Trek tapes. These would be great for a project. Close Encounters, beautiful, shiny edition. I really wish it was the widescreen edition. Unfortunately, it's not. It's shiny all around. And then we got one of the GOATs. I mentioned this earlier when I was talking about Night of the Comet. We got The Last Starfighter. VHS, by and large, was pan and scan. Almost all of these actually, are pan and scan copies of their respective films, which means that they're cut to be a square. And when they eventually started doing TVs that were a rectangle, like when you go to the movie theater, in the late 90s, VHS tried to jump into the widescreen game. I never realized there were as many widescreen VHS tapes as there are. Here are a few of the widescreen tapes that I managed to get surplus copies of that I can sell, probably spool swap. A copy of Pulp Fiction. I got The Matrix. I got 2 copies of The Mummy. And I got The Color Purple. One thing I found out was that Steven Spielberg was an early advocate for the proper aspect ratio on home video releases. And so you have a movie like The Color Purple, which came out a lot earlier than these movies, and you see it with a widescreen release. All right, so that is my stock for the year 2024.